Good morning, one and all. We welcome you to the International Conference on Neutrality, Universal Health Coverage, Languages, Migrants, Health, Well-being, and Sustainable Development 2022, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals SDGs 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, an international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development, and also various commemorations in this week in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute and Center for Art, Sciences, and Well-being. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue to today's sessions. Before starting our sessions, few instructions to everyone. We once again welcome you all to the international conference. As you know, Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute, Center for Art, Sciences and Well-being have been organizing series of international webinars, conferences, seminars, workshops, and various events online and offline as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations. And daily on weekdays, we have 6 to 8 p.m. international webinar series. And also daily, we are having various sessions from eminent speakers. And on weekdays, we are having international conferences commemorating various international decades, years, months, weeks, days, and special occasions, commemorating international, national, regional, and local events which are of significant contribution to the sustainable development. And apart from that, we have special commemorations on commemorative days where we are organizing special webinars and conferences, workshops commemorating relevant themes. So with this, as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations, as we are celebrating 75 years of independence, to make it accessible, affordable to everyone. All these sessions were completely provided and offered for everyone for free. As part of these celebrations, we are organizing this series of events across the various sustainable development goals. As part of these initiatives, we are initiated collaborations with various organizations and presentations, participation from our fraternity across the globe. So speakers have been joining presenters, and we have been collaborating with various organizations for various events based on their interests and disciplines, as well as the faculties. So with these few words, we would like to invite you all once again to the conference and invite our fraternity to contribute these Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations and be part of this one-time life event. And we can all come together to disseminate information on various themes and also our glorious past and glorious future of our nation, contributing to the planet in a sustainable way. So with this week we have commemorations based on various international, national events this week. So this week we have commemorations. International Day of Neutrality on 12th December. So it's commemorated daily in the daily international webinars, and which are also part of the conference themes, which makes them very much pertinent and relevant to these days and significant to this commemorative days. So we have another event, International Universal Health Coverage Day, commemorated on 12th December, and Arabic Language Day, commemorated on 18th December, that is today, and International Migrants Day, commemorated on 18th December, that is today. Apart from that, we had other commemorations like National Horse Day on 13th, and in US, and National Violin Day, 13th December, and Pick a Pathologist Day on 13th December. And on 14th December, we had Monkey Day. And one more important day is on 14th December, which is very much our National Energy Conservation Day. And 15th, we have International Tea Day. And 16th, we have Vijay Divas commemorated. And 17th, we have National Device Appreciation Day. And finally, today is also, apart from Arabic Language Day, it's Guru Ghasidas Jayanti. In Chhattisgarh, it is widely celebrated and commemorated. And also National Twins Day in US. So we have various commemorations based on which every week we have themes set based on these commemorations, so that we can bring on awareness and also insights into various commemorations based on the themes, and also the common themes like health, well-being, and sustainable development. So without taking much time, we will see various commemorations on these themes and also invite our speakers for the day for their sessions after the commemorations. So we'll be moving with today's commemoration, and then we will invite our speakers for the day to join us for the presentations. If any one of you are subject experts and interested to present, you can also utilize this wonderful opportunity daily, weekly, and use this wonderful opportunity to gain insights and also share knowledge within your disciplines or subject domains. So we will take up each commemoration one by one. So 12th December, International Day of Neutrality. Every year on December 12th, 2000, this year 2022, and similarly every year it is commemorated as International Day of Neutrality, as well as so what is neutrality? Neutrality defined as a legal status arising from the abstention of a state from a particular or from all participation in a war between other states. The maintenance of an attitude of impartiality towards the belligerents and the recognition by the belligerents of the abstention and impartiality is critically important for the United Nations to gain and maintain the confidence and cooperation of all in order to operate independently and effectively, especially in situations that are politically charged. Neutrality in the sense, in short, is being neutral, not supporting anyone or not against anyone. So being neutral will always help in the times of crisis where nations are politically charged and are against each other for on a situation or on an issue where the other nations, if we follow some kind of patience, a kind of neutrality or a neutral stand, uh, we can help not to aggravate the situation and help to maintain peace. So this is very much important, and especially organizations such as United Nations, where it is very important as one of its prime objectives is also peacemaking and peace building and peace maintenance. And it also helps in getting unnecessary crisis, as Article 2 of the UN Charter obligates member states to settle their international disputes by peaceful means and to refrain from the threat or the use of force in their relations. The General Assembly reaffirmed those obligations in its resolution 71 by 275. The resolution also underlined that some states national policies of neutrality can contribute to the strengthening of international peace and security and play an important role in developing mutually beneficial relationships among the countries of the world. So, recognizing that such national policies of neutrality are aimed at promoting the use of preventive diplomacy, which is core function of the United Nations and occupies a central place among the functions of the Secretary General, and the Assembly decided to declare 12th December the International Day of Neutrality and called for marking the day of holding events aimed at enhancing public awareness of the value of neutrality in the international relations. So, in the face of political tensions, and escalating crisis, it is of great importance to uphold the principles of sovereignty and sovereign equity of the states, territorial integrity, self-determination, and non-intervention in the international affairs of any state, and to defend, promote, and encourage the settlement of international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security are not endangered. Therefore, the policy of neutrality contributes to the strengthening of peace and security in relevant regions and at global level, and plays an important role in developing peaceful, friendly, and mutually beneficial relationships between the countries of the world. And it is worth noting that the policy of neutrality, a key factor for providing conditions and building a platform for peaceful negotiations, is also closely interconnected with and based on the tools of preventive diplomacy, such as early warning and prevention of conflict, mediation, good offices, fact-finding missions, negotiation, the use of special envoys, information consultations, peace building, and targeted development activities. Hence, preventive diplomacy is a core function of the United Nations, and it's central to the role of United Nations Secretary General, including the special political missions of the United Nations and the good offices of the Secretary General in peacemaking, peacekeeping, and peace building. So consequently, in accordance with the guiding principles for strengthening of the coordination of emergency humanitarian assistance of the United Nations system, countries with the status of neutrality play an important role in providing and delivering humanitarian assistance in situations of complex emergencies and natural disasters. On 2nd February 2017, the UN General Assembly adopted without a vote resolution 71 by 275 introduced by Turkmenistan, recognized by the UN as a permanently neutral state since 12th December 1995, which noted the link between the preservation of peace and 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and declared 12th December as the International Day of Neutrality. The aforementioned General Assembly resolution also proposes that UN Secretary General continue to cooperate closely with the neutral states with the view of implementing the principles of preventive diplomacy and utilizing the mediation activities. The United Nations is committed to moving from a culture of reaction to one of prevention. The term preventive diplomacy refers to the diplomatic action taken to prevent disputes from escalating into conflicts and to limit the spread of conflicts when they occur. While it is conducted in different forms and fora, both public and private, the most common expression of preventive diplomacy is found in the work of envoys dispatched to crisis areas to encourage dialogue, compromise, and peaceful resolution of tensions. Since its inception, the United Nations has played a crucial role in helping to mediate inter and intrastate conflicts at all stages before they escalate into armed conflict, after the outbreak of violence, and during implementation of peace agreements. Successful conflict mediation requires an adequate support system to provide envoys with the proper staff and assistance and advice, and ensure that talks have needed logistical and financial resources. UN peacemaking flourished in the decade following the end of Cold War, as many long-standing armed conflicts were brought to an end through political negotiated settlements. The organization continues to play a prominent role in peacekeeping, working increasingly in partnership with regional organizations in order to bring ongoing conflicts to an end and to prevent new crises from emerging or escalating. We also have similar commemorations related to this commemoration, like International Day of Peace, International Day of Friendship, International Day of Nonviolence, International Day of Tolerance, World Day for Cultural Diversity, for Dialogue and Development, and many others. The policy of neutrality contributes to strengthening global peace and security and plays an important role in forging peaceful, friendly, and mutually beneficial relationships between the countries of the world. Perhaps the main example of neutrality is Switzerland. It remained completely neutral during both world wars, and December 12th was initially celebrated, but later on, December 18, December 12th was chosen to celebrate International Day of Neutrality, promoting peaceful relationships between countries to make things easier by not aggravating. So, with this, we shall conclude this commemoration and we will move on to our next commemoration for the day. That is International Universal Health Coverage Day, which is also commemorated on the same day of December 12th. This year's theme is Build the World We Want, a Healthy Future for All. On December 12th, every year since 12th December 2012, the United Nations General Assembly endorsed a resolution urging countries to accelerate progress towards universal health coverage, in short known as UHC. The idea that everyone everywhere should have access to quality, affordable health care. On 12th December 2017, the United Nations proclaimed 12th December as International Universal Health Coverage Day by Resolution 72 by 138. So, International Universal Health Coverage Day aims to raise awareness of the need for strong and resilient health systems and universal health coverage with multi-stakeholder partners. Each year on 12th December, UHC advocates raises their voices to share the stories of millions of people still waiting for help and champion what we have achieved so far and call on leaders to make bigger and similar investments in health and encourage diverse groups to make commitments to help move the world closer to UHC by 2030. The COVID-19 pandemic has again shown that the UHC and health security are intertwined with goals to protect everyone, everywhere, that we achieve through the same health system in crisis and calm. For health systems to work, they must work for everyone, no matter who they are, where they live, or how much money they have. Equitable health coverage puts women, children, adolescents, and the most vulnerable first because they face the most significant barriers to essential care. On 12 December, join us to demand action on universal health coverage and call on leaders to invest health systems and for primary health care for all that leave no one behind. Our lives, our livelihoods, and futures depend on it. So, the goal of universal coverage, health coverage, has become an event more urgent with COVID-19, which has increased inequalities and financial hardships. So, UHC and health security are two intertwined goals to protect everyone, everywhere, that we achieve through the same health system in crisis and calm. UHC means that everyone, everywhere should have access to health services they need without risk of financial hardship. It is embedded in the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG Target 3.8, and includes the full range of essential health services spanning health promotion, prevention, and treatment. The three dimensions of UHC are population coverage, who receives services linked to equity, service coverage, what health services are available, and finally, financial protection, ensuring health services do not lead to financial hardship. UHC is based on the principle of equity, non discrimination, and the right to health, ensuring that also the most marginalized populations are reached and covered and no one is left behind. And the goal of universal health coverage has become more attainable as the world has become richer, leading to greater access to health services and technologies such as vaccines and antibiotics, and to the most dramatic decline in poverty ever achieved, to ensure that every person benefits the, from the human right to health. Political leaders have to make right choices. The rational, economic, financial, and social choice of universal health coverage. In the world we want, all people can access quality health services without financial hardship. Universal health care coverage lifts people out of poverty, promotes well-being of families and communities, protects against public health crisis, and moves us towards health for all. So UHC 2030 has supported UHC collaboration partners to organize UHC Day events since our establishment in 2016, but role is growing. Another 2017 UNGA resolution also recognized UHC 2030 as the most relevant group in providing support to member states for developing and strengthening sustainable UHC initiatives at the national level. Building on this experience and mandate, UHC 2030 is uniquely positioned to coordinate partners to organize around UHC Day across the world and is now superheating these efforts. So, leading transparently and collaboratively, UHC 2030 convenes and the houses a multi-stakeholder coordination group on International Universal Health Coverage Day that includes member states, multilateral organizations, health related initiatives, civil society, parliamentarians, philanthropic foundations, the private sector, and academia. Then we will move on to our next commemoration for the day, that is World Arabic Language Day. This year, the theme is the contribution of the Arabic language to the human civilization and culture. So, through this year's theme, UNESCO will shed light on the numerous contributions of Arabic to humanity, humanity's cultural and linguistic diversity, as well as to knowledge production. To celebrate World Arabic Language Day 2022, UNESCO organizes a roundtable discussions and cultural performances at UNESCO headquarters in Paris on 16th December 2022. So the Arabic language is a pillar of cultural diversity of humanity. It is one of the most widely spoken languages in the world, used daily by more than 400 million people, and World Arabic Language Day is celebrated every year on 18 December since 2012. The date coincides with the day in 1973 that the General Assembly of United Nations adopted Arabic as the sixth official language of the organization. In the diversity of its forms, classic or dialectal, from oral expression to poetic calligraphy, the Arabic language has given rise to fascinating aesthetic in fields as varied as architecture, poetry, philosophy, and song. It gives access to incredible variety of identities and beliefs, and its history reveals the richness of its links with other languages. Arabic has played a catalytic role in knowledge, promoting the dissemination of Greek and Roman science and philosophies to Renaissance Europe. It has enabled a dialogue of cultures along the Silk Roads from the coast of India to the Horn of America. So, on this 10th World Arabic Language Day, UNESCO would like to honor and salute nearly 450 million people who keep alive an extraordinary linguistic and cultural heritage, a symbol of diversity and cultural inspiration. So, since its first celebration in 2012, each year on 18 December, UNESCO commemorates World Arabic Language Day, highlighting the Arabic's legacy and immense contribution to humanity. So, with this, we shall conclude commemoration of World Arabic Language Day. Then we will move on to our next commemoration for the day, that is International Migrants Day. In recent years, conflict, insecurity, and effects of climate change, war, and conflict have heavily contributed to the forced movement, whether within countries or across borders. In 2020, over 281 million people were international migrants, while over 59 million people were internally displaced by the end of 2021. So, regardless of the reasons that compel people to move, migrants and displaced people represent some of the most vulnerable and marginalized groups in society and are often exposed to abuse and exploitation, have limited access to essential services, including healthcare, and are faced with xenophobic attacks and stigma fueled by misinformation. On the other hand, many migrant workers are often in temporary, informal, or unprotected jobs, which exposes them to a greater risk of insecurity, layoffs, and poor working conditions. Due to persistent attack and persistent lack of safe, regular migration pathways, millions continue to take perilous journeys each year. Since 2014, more than 50,000 migrants have lost their lives on the migratory routes across the world. Despite this, migrants have proven to be a source of prosperity, innovation, and sustainable development to countries of origin, transit, and host countries. Their financial contribution through remittance offers a lifeline to families and spur local markets, especially those of low and middle income countries, while their role in the labor market remains invaluable, as evident on the front line of the COVID 19 pandemic response. Their knowledge, networks, and skills have greatly contributed to the development of resilient communities. Strengthening the contribution of migrants to sustainable development requires collective effort to improve the governance of migration and addressing the challenges migrants face. The Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration (GCM) offers the opportunity and guidance to actualize human mobility and seize opportunities it presents. Every year, on 18 December, the world marks International Migrants Day, a day set aside to recognize the important contribution of migrants while highlighting the challenges they face. Migrants and displaced people represent some of the most vulnerable and marginalized groups in the society. Migrants have proven to be a source of prosperity, innovation, and sustainable development to countries of origin, transit, and host countries in many ways. The Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration offers the opportunity and guidance to actualize human mobility and seize the opportunities it presents. On this International Migration Day and every day, IOM reaffirms its commitment to promoting a humane and orderly management of migration for the benefit of all, including the communities of origin, transit, and destination. Let's learn 5 ways states can prevent and promote safeguarding migration. So the UN Migration Agency, IOM, defines migrant as any person who is moving or has moved across an international border or within a state away from his or her habitual place of residence, regardless of the person's legal status, whether the movement is voluntary or involuntary, and what causes for the movement, and what is the length of the stay, depending on these factors. And Global Compact for Migration, no state can manage migration effectively and sustainably in isolation. The Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration is an effective tool for the states to discuss how best to address challenge to human mobility without compromising the human rights of the people and state sovereignty. So when we look at the background of migration and development, the lure of well-paid job in a wealthy country is a powerful driver of international migration. The attraction has intensified as income differentials among countries continue to grow. This holds true not only regarding the large and growing differentials between high and low income countries, but also with regard to more dynamic and less dynamic developing countries. Many advanced and dynamic economies need migrant workers to fill jobs that cannot be outsourced and that do not find local workers willing to take them at going wages. Population aging also underlies the growing demand as it gives rise to deficits of workers relative to dependents. As the younger generations become better educated, fewer in their ranks are content with low paid and physically demanding jobs. Migration may reduce wages or lead to higher unemployment among low skilled workers in advanced economies, many of whom are themselves migrants who arrived in earlier waves. However, most migrants complement the skills of domestic workers instead of competing with them by performing tasks that either would go undone or cost more. Migrants allow citizens to perform other, more productive, and better paid jobs. They also maintain viable economic activities that, in their absence, would be outsourced. By enlarging the labor force and pool of consumers and by contributing their entrepreneurial capacities, migrants boost economic growth in receiving countries. At the point of origin, deeper poverty does not lead automatically to higher migration. The poorest people generally do not have the resources to bear the cost and risks international migration. International migrants are usually drawn from middle income households. However, when migrants establish themselves abroad, they help friends and relatives to follow, and the process, the costs and risks of migration fall, making it possible for poorer people, though not for the poorest, to join the stream. Low skill migration has largest potential to reduce the depth and severity of the poverty in communities of origin. So, mounting evidence indicates that international migration is usually positive both for countries of origin, of destination, and its potential benefits are larger than potential gains from fair international trade, particularly for developing countries. But there is also a matter of caution, which an unregulated migration can be a serious threat to nations because you know the unregulated or unorganized migration can also induce unwanted elements into the society, and their nation's resources also need to be divided among those already certain nations which are struggling for their own existence and for their own survival and maintenance. These migrants can be a huge burden on their resources. So on either side, it is the nation to decide whether how many migrants can be allowed into the country, and at the same time, what kind of opportunities and facilities can be provided to the migrants. Because everywhere unemployment still remains the greatest challenge, poverty remains the greatest challenge. And again, with this, the minimum employment opportunities, though migrants offer their services at a less price, but at the same time, many citizens of the nation go unemployed because of lack of work, or have to work for a lower price or lower wages or salary. So these are very critically have to be analyzed. And and on a long term, when the migrants settle in a nation and across for a period of time, and later on become the citizens of the nation, and so they become part of the nation. And with this also, there is a huge by steady increase or steady flow of migration, the population also increases. So the government, the state, or the nation will be under the obligation to provide the resources, citizen amenities, and all the amenities as required for the citizens as well as to the migrants. So this in long term, unless and until it is managed well and it is regulated and organized, it can at the same time, it has the benefits, and on the other side, it can pose a serious threat or risk to the nation, and as well as to the consumption of the existing resources. So taking positively, regulated and organized migrants always help the migrants in the first place, and also to the host and destination nation, because it will have the records of the migrants and their activities, the kind of employment and benefits they are getting, which will safeguard not only the migrants, but also the host and destination nations. So let's watch a short video. So on this International Migrants Day, it's time to act on health systems that include migrants. This year, International Migrant Day falls shortly after the first ever world report on the health of refugees and migrants launch, shedding light and key evidence on the multitude of health challenges faced by the migrants and the refugees along their journeys. We are increasingly mobile planet. Around 1 in every 8th person on the globe is a migrant or is moving. And this is likely to grow due to conflicts, persecutions, environmental degradation, and climate change. People also move because of lack of human security and opportunities. The experience of migration is a key determinant of health and well-being, and certain groups of migrants, such as low-skilled migrant workers, remain among some of the most vulnerable members of the society, especially where living and working conditions are not conducive to good health. Health for all, including migrants and refugees, is entirely responsible and possible if we work together to create a truly inclusive health systems. World Health Organization is playing a key role in bringing attention to the health issues of the people on the move, building a critical body of evidence, guidance, and tools, and advocating for universal health coverage that truly leaves no one behind. Migrants come from every country and part of the globe, and there is much more to do to ensure they receive appropriate and accessible health care at every stage of their journey. Why is health such a critical issue for migrants? Millions of migrants in vulnerable situations, such as low skilled migrant workers, have poorer health outcomes than host communities, especially where living and working conditions are substandard. A significant number of 169 million migrant workers globally are engaged in dirty, dangerous, and demanding jobs, placing them at a greater risk of occupational accidents, injuries, and work related health problems. Addressing the needs of migrants, respondents to the human rights to health, protects the health of both migrants and host communities, and contributes to the integration and social and economic development. Furthermore, it ensures security for global health. Migrants contribute an immense amount of skills, energy, culture, and networks to their host societies. They are not inherently less healthy than host country populations, but their poorer health outcomes are in fact rooted in suboptimal education, income, housing, access to services, and compounded by linguistic, cultural, legal, and other barriers. So World Health Organization's 2022 World Report on Health of Refugees and Migrants summarizes the global evidence of these crucial determinants of health and presents key information about the trends, gaps, and good practices in protecting, promoting the health of migrants and refugees worldwide. So it is vital to act now to develop inclusive policy and responsive public health systems, enabling migrants to the participate as integral parts of thriving societies. So integrating migrants into primary health care, strengthening health system capacity, actions to promote health of the migrants and building global local research capacity are various foundational elements that World Health Organization and migration program is rooted. Strengthening health system capacity based on partly on experiences gained through the COVID-19 pandemic, WHO promotes three components necessary for implementing and integrating approach to policies addressing migration and public health. Protection sensitive access to territory, enabling access to territories and asylum procedures for people who need international protection. Flexibility regarding migratory status to ensure their irregular, undocumented migrants have safe and lawful access to health services. Non-discriminatory access to healthcare that provides equal access to healthcare for all, regardless of migratory status, nationality, gender identity, age, or ethnicity. Actions to promote health of the migrants. The global goal of World Health Organization Global Action Plan promoting the health of refugees and migrants 2019 to 2023 is an asset that health is an essential component of protection and assistance for the refugees and migrants and of good migration governance. It aims to improve global health by addressing the health and well-being of migrants and refugees inclusively, comprehensively, as part of holistic efforts to respond to health needs in any setting. It recognizes that in order to prevent inequalities, the public health opportunities and challenges offered by migrants and refugees cannot be separated from those of the host population. This approach is justified not only by humanitarian motivation, but also because it reflects rational public health practice. It also reflects the urgent need for the health sector to deal more efficiently with the impacts of migration and displacement on health. Building global and local research capacity. The World Health Organization's health and migration programs work globally to fill evidence gaps on health and migration. In 2023, the program is leading the first global research agenda on health and migration, bringing together stakeholders from all regions to determine global research priorities under the themes of universal health coverage, healthier populations, and health emergencies. The Health and Migration Program will continue working closely with regions and countries to build capacity on the health and migration, support operational research, and develop regional and national research agendas on health and migration, addressing knowledge gaps and translating evidence into policy and practice contributes to the longer term goal of moving towards health systems that are more responsive to the current and future population movement dynamics to improve the health of migrants, refugees, and host population globally. So with this, we shall conclude this commemoration of International Migrants Day. Then we will move on to our other commemorations for the day. And we have Monkey Day commemoration, especially in the context of US. Of course, we look just a bit different from our primate pals, but we shouldn't forget that we share a common ancestor with them in chimpanzees. And this celebrates not just monkeys, but everything simian. And as part of a human family tree, monkeys are also celebrated on Monkey Day. And when coming to the statistics of monkeys, the number of monkey species are around 200, and the number of monkeys remaining from Cadba langur species are 50, and the percentage of increase in the monkey's insulation after a grooming session is 50%, and the number of Barbary macaques that inhabit Gibraltar is around 200, The percentage decline in the population of Barbary macaques over the past 24 years is 50%. And the length of pygmy monkey is 5 inches, and the weight of pygmy monkey in adulthood is 4 ounces, which makes the smallest monkey in the world. And the weight of a female mandrill is around 25 pounds. And this day is a day for monkey lovers to chant their voice affection for these animals, but also to help raise awareness for the challenges facing continued existence of monkeys in the world. So on this day, help collect funds or to support in cash or kind to ethical animal research, primate awareness programs, or preserve for aging monkeys. And it's also fun to watch and learn about animals. We love so much. So many zoos around the country will have special programs and initiatives that focus especially on monkeys. So, and various other animals. So do take part and contribute your cash or kind or even time. And from Curious George to Aladdin Sabu, entertainment featuring primates can be a fun for the whole family. So find an appropriate film and get watching. And one defining difference between monkeys and other primates is the tail. And monkeys are primates found primarily in tropical rainforests, and among the species of monkeys that are endangered are cotton-headed, tamarin, and Ecuadorian white-fronted capuchin and pied tamarian are the endangered species of monkeys. And for monkeys, picking dirt and bugs off their fellow monkeys is a form of affection. Also, monkey love. And pygmy marmosets are the world's smallest monkeys on the planet. So it is an opportunity to bring awareness and raise much needed awareness, though not everyone may know that half of the 262 species of monkey in the world are threatened with extinction. And this day plays an important role in educating people about the present dangers the animals face. And monkeys are cute. They are not only playful, intelligent, and friendly, and they are some of the cutest animals in the world. And there nowadays we are seeing a lot of human and animal conflict because we are engaging in a lot of deforestation and due to encroachments of water bodies and disappearing of water channels or canals. Forests are not getting enough rainfall and water supply, and because of that there is a lot of dry area, lack of cultivation of these natural fruits and other food resources in the forest are making these wild animals and other animals to move into the human population as humans are encroaching into their territories and building habitats in their territories. So this we have to work in union with the ecosystem, as we are also part of 8 billion species, and even monkeys and other animals are also equally having rights over the planet and resources. So we also need to find alternative ways where we need to conserve forests, and we need to improve the utility of the forest within the available space, where we further do not encroach and try to improve the utility value of the forest so that the animals can meet their requirements, so that the conflict is reduced to the minimum or prevented. So with this, we shall conclude this Monkeys Day commemoration. Then we will move on to Horse Day, which is commemorated on December 30th. And it's a day to remember the economic, historical, and cultural contributions that horses have made. And equine enthusiasts across the country will get together to show their appreciation for these majestic creatures. Whether you are a seasoned rider or have never been on a horse in your life, check out some ways to recognize this day to create awareness. Especially this is in context of US and Americans have been the day to appreciate role of horse, not only helping their country become what it is today, but also its current role in modern era. Houses in general contribute roughly $9.2 billion to the US economy. Whatever they are helping, like plowing for fields or move food and supplies into rural areas, move livestock into ranches, or just provide sweet, thoughtful equine therapy. Horses have won themselves into the fabric of life of America. After the primate Native American horses died in between 13,000 and 11,000 years ago, today's wild horses species were reintroduced to America by European colonists in the late 1400s. They have since flourished in the Great Plains and mountains west, where wild herds' thunderous hooves are still heard on this day. Rodeos are still a vibrant and celebrated part of the culture of the American West, and in many rugged and rural areas, horses are still necessary for getting work done. While history of the horse day may be new to millennials, horses themselves have been intrinsic to the lives of many Americans, even across the world also. And there are a lot of research done on horse eyesight. In 2018, equine specialists learned that horses see colors differently than humans. This information can be used to improve racecourse safety. And the horse artist and his rider, Oliver Lewis, won the first ever Derby in May 17, 1875. The Kentucky Derby began. And the Mongols went to war. They are very well known for their speedy raids and horse-mounted archers. With the help of horse, they were able to conquer much of the Asian continent in 1200. And the earliest evidence came from shin bones and big bear gear found in Kazakhstan by 3000 BC. Domesticated horses were widespread. So in 5000 BC, humans began domesticating horses. And horses contribute to the United States economy of $9.2 billion, and they don't even get paid. And conveniently and coincidentally, there's 9.2 million horses in the United States. That means each horse contributes roughly $1,000 to the American economy every year, and all they ask for are just some fodder, carrot, and apples. And roughly 600 federal horses combined live on sparsely populated islands off the coast of Georgia and North Carolina's Outer Bank Islands, left centuries ago by settlers. These horses have flourished in these desolate lands. So you can watch certain movies based on horses like Seabiscuit, Black Beauty, National Velvet, and many more, and donate to equine charities. A lot of organizations are dedicated to helping horses, and there are various horse clubs also in your city, even in our country also, where you can just go and have some time, spend some time with horses, and also enjoy horse ride. Do join horse riding clubs and support them. Mustangs are wild horses that live mainly in the western US, and Mustangs are descendant from Iberian horses, which were brought by Spanish explorers to the Americans. Though they weren't on the endangered species list, there are fewer than 25,000 wild horses in the US, so small numbers, and they aren't built for survival. Mustangs have no natural predators. So some horses can live up to 40 years in the world, but age is always a number. And horses have been our companions for thousands of years, and humans have bonded with horses for a long time. So it only makes sense that there is a whole day dedicated to them. And horses also played a big role in American culture, from cowboys to the Kentucky Derby. Horses are ingrained in American history. Whether you are a horse person or not, you are surely witnessed America's love for horses at some points. Even our nation also, in fact, across the world, horses are much like animals. And equestrians love the spirit of competition that comes with riding in horse shows. Farmers need horses to manage everyday tasks, and plenty of people in between enjoy going for the occasional horseback ride. Horses bring a sense of enjoyment and camaraderie into the lives of people across the world. So with this, we shall conclude this commemoration. A National Device Appreciation Day is also commemorated on December 17th. And it is an opportunity to appreciate devices that help us lead our lives and take steps to protect those that are most important to us. The most best effective way to protect all of the items that contribute to joy in our life is to properly insure them, ensuring that they can contribute positively, impact our life for years to come, no matter what unexpected problems may arise. Basically, that is in context of insurance. So though this commemoration may not exactly look as it conveys, but insurance is often the last thing you think about until you absolutely need it. But it can make the difference between weathering a turn of bad luck or not. Homeowners and renters insurance are important protection against various hazards like fire and theft, but the expense and administrative effort of insuring an entire home worth of items isn't always the most convenient for everyone, which is what transverse law solves. But in turn, insurance has been around in various forms for millennia. Merchants in the ancient city of Rhodes could pay what was known as the general average, which covered them against shipping losses when goods were shipped collectively. The ancient Greeks and Romans had maritime loans, which insured against similar issues, and it was a commonplace, though sometimes controversial, to provide similar types of coverages during the medieval period. However, we can trace modern forms of insurance, including property insurance to the European Enlightenment period of the 17th century. The earliest known types of insurance available to the public guarded against fire damage, no surprise there, in the city of Hamburg, Germany in 1676. But property insurance, as we know it today, as it roots in one of the history's most iconic events, the Great Fire of London. In the aftermath of the Great Fire, which destroyed some 13,000 residences, London economists create the insurance office for houses, which protected residents from damage caused by fires. So today there are many different types of insurance that protect persons and property from a whole host of inclement events such as fire, weather, sickness, death, etc. While isn't always the most exciting aspect of modern life, It remains more critical than ever as belongings become more and more essential to our lives and often more expensive. And we shall conclude this commemoration here, and we'll move on to Guru Ghasidas Jayanti, which is primarily celebrated and commemorated in Chhattisgarh in India. It is celebrated every year on December 18th in the state of Chhattisgarh, and it commemorates the birthday of Guru Ghasidas, born on December 18th, 1756. And his birthplace is Girodpuri, Chhattisgarh. And Ghasidas forged his desire to eliminate social inequality because he experienced the caste system very early in his life. So he established the Satnami community in Chhattisgarh based on Satnam, which means truth and equality. The teachings are similar to Hinduism and Buddhism. And Guru Ghasidas was a leader of the Satnam sect within Hinduism who lived from 1756 until 1836. He established the Satnami community within Chhattisgarh and advocate equality under Satnamic teaching instead of the caste system. His preaching was mainly to the Indians belonging to the lower caste. Early in Guru Ghasidas' life, he experienced the oppression of the caste system. This motivated him to dedicate his life to fighting against the caste system. The teachings of Guru Ghasidas were similar to Hinduism and Buddhism, but there were significant differences that could classify this movement as a new religion. His teachings emphasized equality, social justice, truth, and peace. He disagreed with other aspects of Hinduism, such as Murti Puja custom, in which physical objects were viewed as embodiment of gods during Hindu puja rites because of the low caste people who were deprived of these kind of rituals. To find ways to challenge the social inequalities of the caste system and to find solutions to other societal issues, Guru Ghasidas traveled widely throughout Chhattisgarh, and he created a new awakening in what was a cruel and representative Indian society because of the vested interest by the vested people who tried to dominate uh, and keep certain things to themselves, depriving others. And the Guru Ghasidas University and local Guru Ghasidas National Park are named after him to honor the leader. And the legacy of Guru Ghasidas' work lives on through his millions of followers in Chhattisgarh. In 7th century AD, the brick temple is built, the Lakshman temple, famous for its brilliant brickwork and intricate art decoration, is built. And Guru Ghasidas is born to a Dalit family in the village of Girodpuri in the Raipur district of Chhattisgarh in 1756. And in 1850, Guru Ghasidas dies at the age of 80. And Guru Ghasidas University is inaugurated in the Bilaspur district of Chhattisgarh in 1983. And Guru Ghasidas Jayanti helps inspire devotees to worship So Guru Ghasidas Ji Jayanti helps inspire devotees to worship, seek the truth, and choose to do good to the societies. And he helped victims of prejudice based on their caste, religion, sex, and other characteristics. And people do follow and still listen to the teachings of Guru Ghasidas even today. And as we all know, India is a very diversified, beautiful country with many activities to enjoy. You can take part in this celebration and do some research about Guru Ghasidas, and you will discover his work and teachings. And there is a tradition that adult members of this group are required to wear only white clothing, abstain from alcohol, and avoid eating animal products, and they don't worship idols. And Guru Ghasidas gave hope to people going through various kinds of discrimination. And coming to Chhattisgarh, the state of Chhattisgarh is in central India, situated in the oldest rocks in India, and is the 10th largest state in India. And Chhattisgarh is also an important electricity producing state in India. And Guru Ghasidas Ji dedicated his life to helping people, and his selflessness is remembered in this day. So with this, we shall conclude this commemoration, and we shall move on to the next commemoration, National Twin Day, that is also in US. The special day was celebrated on the first weekend of August each year, but in 2019, it was proclaimed that National Twin Day was to be observed on December 18th. Mythology has told us about the unique set, and they were the first twins recorded in the Bible, and even earlier in various other scriptures, there were mention of twins. Both literature and modern day sitcoms always keep us in tears and total amazement when twins are portrayed. Over the years, we have been fascinated whenever we see twins among us, whether as babies, teenagers, or adults, or fraternal or identical twins. National Twin Day is a day set aside to celebrate the unique connection between these siblings who share the same birthdays, whether twins, triplets, quads, or more. All are welcome. Although it has grown to become globally accepted, National Twin Day was not always this popular. The first time Twin Day was proposed to the city council, it was rejected. Since becoming embraced and almost a part of modern day culture, it now boasts of being the largest annual gathering of twins globally and draws thousands of participants from all over the United States, celebrating the unique gift of humanity called twins. So Nigeria has the highest number of twins. The Igbo Ura in the Western African country, Nigeria, has the highest number of twins in the world. And Mashots has the highest number of twins born in USA. And the celebration is quite popular there, and is also known as US Twin Hub. And 40% twins develop their own language and different fingerprints. Identical twins have different fingerprints, though they are identical twins. Until now, since inception of this Twin Day, 43 festivals have been held. It celebrates the unique connection between twins, and twins are special and make life beautiful. So it is a good way to recognize this beautiful part of life and celebrate their connections. And it is also a lot of fun activities, a good way to let go of stress and catch a bit and time to meet new people uh, and forge new connections, business by celebrating this day. So we shall conclude this commemoration. And we had commemorated Vijay Divas on December 16th. It is when Indian armed forces, including veterans, citizens, and students, paid and across the nation pay tribute to remember the sacrifices of our soldiers. Vijay Divas celebrates Indian historic military victory against Pakistan in 1971 war, which is also liberated Bangladesh from Pakistan. So Vijay Divas commemoration and commemorates and celebrates the victory of Indian armed forces in Operation Vijay against the infiltrating Pakistani troops. Rich tributes are given to martyrs who put their lives on the line during the war. Since India and Pakistan partition in year 1947, there has been always animosity between these two countries for many reasons. One of these reasons was regards to the East Pakistan, the events leading to 1971 war, where what prompted the Indian troops to get involved and where non-Muslims residing in the West Pakistan were being targeted and required intervention. The war between Pakistan and India lasted for 13 days, ending on December 16th, 1971, and resulting in the liberation of a new country by the name of Bangladesh. It was India's front which made nearly 93,000 Pakistani soldiers surrender and altered the contours of the map of the world. A proud moment for the Indian Army, this was their first conclusive win after the end of World War II. It is also quite a big day for Bangladesh as it has earned status as independent nation. And the day is celebrated in Bangladesh as Vijay Divas. And military holidays are always observed with great zeal across the world, especially in every country. And that too, even this is in Indian context, even in India, government officials, armed forces, and citizens of India go out to express their gratitude to their protectors. If you look at the history, a tale of two nations, the subcontinent is divided into two. Thus, Pakistan and India were born in 1947, and India and Pakistan face off in their first war following independence, 1965. And the two countries had their second war, resulting in India's victory and liberation of Bangladesh from Pakistan in 1971, Battle for Bangladesh. And Bangladesh celebrates its Independence Day annually on this day. Bangladesh gained independence on March 26, 1971. And Vijay Divas is an opportunity and looks back in the history and pays tribute to the lives of soldiers lost in the third war between the two countries of India and Pakistan. The 20th anniversary of the victory was taglined by the Indian Army officials with the theme Remember, Rejoice, Renew. And at that time, Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India during historic war of 1971 between Pakistan and India. The government of India hosted a state-level quiz to educate participants and honor the sacrifice of Indian troops. And when we look at the facts of India-Pakistan War of 1971, Pakistan attacked 11 Indian airfields that ignited the war on December 3rd, 1971, which was an unprovoked attack. And the only female prime minister in the Indian history, Indira Gandhi, was in power during this war, portraying female power. And lasting about 13 days, the 1971 war is among the shortest in the history, but that led to creation of Bangladesh as an independent nation. And the war ended with the creation of Bangladesh as a separate country, which has put an end to all the atrocities. And one of the attacks on Longhiwala was resisted by 23rd Punjab, an infantry company, until the Indian Air Force arrived. And the 1971 war gave liberation to Bangladesh. The flag of Bangladesh was raised for the first time on March 23rd, and it pays homage to the troops. A lot of soldiers lost their lives, leaving behind their families. Without their valor, India or Bangladesh wouldn't be what it is today. And it is important that the sacrifices of these soldiers are never forgotten. Great wars and their accompanying losses aside, everyone can benefit from learning from history. There are lessons to be learned and prevent. There are a lot more to talk about Vijay Divas, but we shall conclude with this here. And the last commemoration for the day is National Energy Conservation Day, that is commemorated in India. Every year, India observes National Conservation Day on December 14th, organized by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, in short known as BEE. Which operates under Ministry of Power, aiming to present India's stellar achievements in cost efficiency, efficient energy production, and resource conservation. For the plans for the future are also discussed on this day, targeting holistic and sustainable development as a main goal towards mitigation of climate change. And let's all involve in more informative ways to spread awareness on climate change and conservation of energy. National Conservation Energy Day aims to generate awareness among the masses in India about the importance of saving energy. People are also kept in the loop on new courses of action and plans that are being formulated, and information is giving on minimizing energy waste and how the public can do their part in conserving resources. Essentially, the main objective of the day is to reduce the use of energy and to encourage people to use it efficiently. Formed under the Union Ministry of Power, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, in short known as BE, has been the leading celebrations of the National Energy Conservation Day annually on December 14th since 1991. A constitutional body that falls under the Government of India and Bureau of Energy Efficiency assists in the development and implementation of strategies and policies to reduce successive consumption of energy. The committee also executed the Energy Conservation Act in 2001. As part of awareness campaign, awards are distributed annually. On this day, in 56 subsectors of the country to recognize achievements in energy efficiency. The National Energy Conservation Awards program commends the efforts of the industry, institutions, and establishments ranging from power plants to hotels to shopping malls. Prizes are also awarded by BE to winners of the National Painting Competition centered on the theme of strategizes and develops policies that will help decrease this demand by advocating the adoption of efficient measures for energy use. So in 1992, there was a new hope. The Ministry of New and Renewable Energy was established, and Ujala was launched by the Prime Minister of India as an LED lamp distribution project on 1st May 2015, starting the future. And 2016, January 1st, for a better tomorrow, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of 2030 agenda were set by United Nations. And in 2020, a movement towards sustainable and eco-friendly clothing begins in the fashion industry across India. Save the planet in style. And conserving energy undoubtedly leads to a better quality of life. Reduced carbon emissions mean cleaner air and a healthier planet and saving the limited resources that we have. Anything from unplugging appliances when not in use, switching off extra lights in a room fan, switching off ACs and switching off appliances when not in use, and taking public transport instead of driving your own vehicles are few of many examples or many ways of energy conservation. And this is a day that showcases India's exemplary milestones in energy saving. Energy saved is energy produced. So all the while planning holistic sustainable development strategies for the future, let's all conserve energy and replace your light bulbs. Even though energy efficient bulbs are pricier, their efficiency and long-term use make them less costly in the long run. So replace the old bulbs with energy efficient quality bulbs so that it lasts longer and consumes less energy. And children are our future, so let's educate children about it. So that we can improve their future than talking to them about good practices on saving energy. We can show them practically and they can inculcate in their practice also. And don't forget the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. And volunteer in your community, participate in campaigning, advocacy, and online events and offline events like this, and create more awareness. And when coming to interesting facts about fashion, sustainable fashion, fast fashion is always a problematic. The fast fashion industry has led to an estimated production figure of 148 million tons by 2030, and a move that is sustainable for the economy and environment. Some home-based brands are exclusively working with women from rural areas on creating sustainable collections, leading to women empowerment and equality in terms of women with Made in India. And according to the UN environment, the fashion industry alone is responsible approximately for 8% of carbon emissions across the world. and it is a carbon footprint. And fortunately, millennials are all for shopping sustainably and have been the driving force behind this movement towards eco-friendly fashion consumerism. So, with woke millennials, we are contributing this to this movement. And textile processing uses around 2,000 chemicals, out of which only 16 are allowed by the Environmental Protection Agency. So a lot of chemicals which are not permitted are being used extensively by these, textile and fashion processing industries, which are causing a serious health hazard and also environmental hazard. And everyone has a responsibility. National Energy Conservation Day advocates the importance of saving energy for everyone, be it a child or an elderly. And India has a large role to play. India is a huge country with population of over 1.3 billion people. Accommodating such a large portion of the planet's population means that they also carry a large amount of responsibility for the climate change. And every turning of the tap water once while brushing your teeth is helpful. So good practices encouraged through conferences, discussions, webinars, workshops, truly make a difference, the domino effect. And as already mentioned, the government of India has set up Bureau of Energy Efficiency on March 1st, March 2002 under the provisions of the Energy Conservation Act 2001. The mission of Bureau of Energy Efficiency is to assist in developing policies and strategies with the thrust of self-regulation and make market principles within the overall framework of Energy Conservation Act 2001, with the primary objective of reducing energy intensity of the Indian economy. So BEE coordinates with designated consumers, designated agencies, and other organizations and recognize, identify, and utilize the existing resources and infrastructure in performing the functions assisted to it under the Energy Conservation Act. The Energy Conservation Act provides for regulatory and promotional functions. So the major promotional functions of BEE includes create awareness and disseminate information on energy efficiency and conservation, arrange and organize training of personnel and specialists in techniques for energy efficient use of energy and its conservation, strengthen consultancy services in the field of energy conservation, promote research and development, develop testing and certification procedures and promote testing facilities, formulate and facilitate implementation of pilot projects and demonstration projects, promote use of energy efficient process equipment, devices and systems, take steps to encourage preferential treatment for use of energy efficient equipments or appliances, promote innovative financing of energy efficient projects, give financial assistance to institutions for promoting efficient use of energy and its conservation, prepare educational curriculum on efficient use of energy and its conservation, implement international cooperation programs relating to efficient use of energy and its conservation, and Ministry of Law, Justice and Company Affairs, Legislative Department, New Delhi, the 1st October 2001, Aswina 9, 1923, Shaka era, the following Act of Parliament received the assent of the President on the 29th September 2001 and is hereby published for general information as the Energy Conservation Act 2001, number 52 of 2001, 29th September 2001. an act to provide for efficient use of energy and its conservation and for matters connected herewith or incidental thereto. BEE is enacted by the Parliament in the 52nd year of the Republic of India as follows. Constitutes the following 10 chapters. Chapter 1, short title, extent and commencement. Chapter 2, establishment and incorporation of Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Chapter 3, transfer of assets, liabilities and employees of Energy Management Center. Chapter 4, powers and functions of Bureau. Chapter 5, powers of central government to enforce efficient use of energy and its conservation. Chapter 6, power of state government to enforce certain provisions for efficient use of energy and its conservation. Chapter 7, grants and loans by central government. Chapter 8, penalty. Chapter 9, establishment of appellate tribunal. Chapter 10, power of central government to issue directions to the Bureau. So energy is life, conserve it. So with this, we shall conclude this commemoration. And by the end of the conference, if any of our participants are willing to share some good amount of energy conservation initiatives, we are giving a gift for that presenter or participants who would like to share a value addition to the conference. So be prepared by the end of the session. If any one of you, or in fact, if all of you also try, the best one will be given a free surprise gift that we will announce you at the end of the conference on energy conservation tips or methods or initiatives that can create a significant impact on energy conservation. So with this, we shall conclude all the commemorations for this week. And we thank you everyone for joining us for this commemorative session. And then we will move on to the sessions by presenters. Before that, feedback form is being raised in the form of polls. Kindly attend to the feedback. It is mandatory. So kindly do not move away, close away the window, which will be shown now. Quickly fill up the feedback form. There, and feedback form, and the feedback is collected only in the Zoom platform. There is no external link, so make sure you quickly attend the form and provide your valuable feedback. Feedback form has been raised. We have 5 minutes for this feedback form. We request everyone to complete the feedback form and submit them. And those who have not registered or joined directly, you can register for the conference It is mandatory to receive your certificate. You register for the conference and also provide feedback. So I have shared the registration link in the chat box. And after feedback form, stay back for the sessions by presenters. Presenters who are present in the conference, Kindly share your topic and details in your chat box so that we can invite you one by one. You can select the host and share your topic and your introduction details in chat box. So that we can invite you. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. Yeah, Dr. Jyoti, you can leave your details, topic and details in chat box. So that we can invite you. Dear participants, quickly fill up the feedback form. We will close the feedback form and then move on to our next session. So we have with us Dr. Jyoti Makkar. She is a dentist and also pursued clinical psychology and also pursuing counseling and family therapy and has obtained certificate in brain and behavior. And she would be speaking today on topic personality and Maudsley personality inventory. So we welcome you, Dr. Jyoti ji, for your to the conference and for your participation and presentation. Yeah, you can now unmute yourself and start your video and presentation.
Very good afternoon to all the participants. My topic of presentation today is personality and Maudsley personality inventory. Now, what is personality? How do psychologists define it? And what is the definition according to American Psychiatric Association? According to American Psychiatric Association and psychologists, personality is defined as individual differences in which one thinks, feels, and behaves. And there are various tests to measure personality. But personality, when they measure personality, the focus is basically on two things, that is sociability of a person and irritability, and also that how various parts of a person come together as a whole. So the various personality inventories are like one was Maudsley personality inventory by H.A. Eysenck, which I'm going to discuss today. And another is 16 personality factors by Raymond Cattell, and Big Five personality tests by McRae and Costa. So first we are going to discuss about Maudsley personality inventory. Maudsley personality inventory, it is a questionnaire which was developed by a German-born British psychologist, H.A. Eysenck. But why is it named Maudsley personality inventory? That we will also discuss. Actually, this psychologist, when he developed this questionnaire, he published it in a journal, Revista di Psychologia. And later version of it came to be known as Eysenck personality inventory. Now he was working in a hospital in Maudsley Hospital in Denmark Hill in South London, where he was working under a psychiatrist, English psychiatrist, Henry Maudsley. Now, the contribution of Henry Maudsley was he founded this inventory. Though the questionnaire was developed by Eysenck, but Henry Maudsley standardized it and tested it and then founded it, and it was named after him. Now, this Maudsley personality inventory, it basically measures two personality traits: extroversion versus introversion, and neuroticism versus emotional stability. There is a theory Eysenck propounded for these traits. So first we will come to extroversion. What is extroversion? According to Carl Jung, he was the person who founded this term extroversion, because extroverts he named it extroverts for those people who are more attracted towards the external environment. So he named it extroverts or extroversion. They are called social butterflies, chatterboxes, party animals, because they derive their energy from sociability when there is a large crowd hovering around them. And there's a theory which Eysenck propounded for this. And what is the theory of extroversion? The theory of extroversion is arousal theory. Now, what does this arousal theory state? Arousal theory states that for our optimal functioning, there is optimal level of cortical arousal. At optimal level of cortical arousal, all of us can function to our extremes, to our best. But if the cortical arousal is above this optimal level, or if it is below this optimal level, then our functioning is affected. So he says that extroverts, they are under aroused and they are very bored, but they derive their energy from external stimulation. When there is external crowd around them, sociability, because they are party animals, they derive their energy and they come to the optimum level of cortical arousal and they can function well. So these people, they are very active and they really enjoy gatherings. And introverts, regarding introverts, according to this optimal arousal theory, introverts, they're over aroused and very over aroused and fidgety. But when there is quiet and peaceful atmosphere, then they're from being over aroused, they come to the level of optimal arousal and they can function the best. So this is the theory. And next trait is neuroticism. Neuroticism is called by various names. Neuroticism basically means emotionally unstable. You're not able to control your emotions and easily emotionally aroused. And neuroticism is referred by various names like neurosis, psychoneurosis, neurotic. And this trait is the opposite of this trait is stable, emotional stability. Now, the theory behind this neuroticism is activation threshold. So, what happens according to Eysenck? He said that in the visceral brain and in this sympathetic nervous system, there is this activation threshold. And for these neurotic people, the activation threshold is always less. What is the function of sympathetic system? Sympathetic nervous system. It has basically two roles. In this situation, stressful situation, either there is a fight response or there is a flight response. So these neurotics who are having this low activation threshold, they're easily aroused. Even in very minor situations, they tend to get disturbed and they cannot function properly. So this neuroticism, these neurotic people, they have a particular feature called negative affectivity. Like a negative affectivity, it is characterized by too much of negative emotions like depression, anxiety, fear, and phobia, envy, jealousy. All these emotions, they are at peak in them. And those who are stable, emotionally stable, the reverse of that, they have a very good activation threshold. So in neuroticism, though we call it psychoneurosis also, but it is not presented with the traits like hallucinations and delusions. These are two prominent traits in psychosis. This psychoneurosis or neuroticism has nothing to do with that traits. These two traits are present in psychosis in which there is a loss of contact with reality. But in neurotic patients, they are in touch with reality. So I mentioned two terms, this hallucination and delusion. What are they? Hallucination is basically three types: auditory, tactile, olfactory. And you are hearing some voices, auditory, which are not real. They are perceived only by the person who is experiencing it. Others cannot hear it in the surrounding. So that is auditory hallucination. Tactile, something related to touch. Olfactory with smell. And delusion. Delusion means some false fixed belief, rigid belief, which is unshakable. You cannot remove it from the person. So that is like, you can say delusion of grandiosity. You can say paranoid delusion. Paranoid delusion means suspicion. And grandiosity, delusion of grandiosity is like the person has a feeling that he or she is God or a very big reformer, social reformer like Raja Ram Mohan Roy. And so these are two factors which are seen in psychosis, but they're not seen in neurosis. Now, how do we check the neurotic features in a person? In this questionnaire, the various questions are asked. I get irritated easily. I tend to get upset easily, and mood swings. There are frequent mood swings in a person, and I worry too lot about things. So with all these three questions, we come to know about whether the person is suffering from neuroticism or not. So in neuroticism, various problems are accommodated like depression, anxiety, panic disorder, social phobia. All these are categorized under neuroticism. And based on these two dimensions, which I just now discussed, there are four more dimensions. Like they're classified into four categories. Like we can say stable extroverts and unstable extroverts, and then stable extroverts, unstable extroverts, stable introverts, and unstable introverts. Now we're going to discuss one by one. Stable extroverts, they have sanguine qualities. Stable extroverts, like they are jovial, and they are jovial, emotionally stable, outgoing, easygoing. On the other hand, unstable extroverts They are too much fidgety and anxious and too much. Well, you cannot rely on them. They undergo mood swings. And in these stable introverts again, they are peaceful, calm, composed, balanced mindset. On the other hand, unstable introverts are reserved, shy, and moody. So these are the differences. So these are the various differences between these four people. And with this, I end my topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jyoti Mukherjee, for your presentation. You gave insights into Maudsley personality inventory. It was very well presented, and we wish you all the success. Congratulations, and we for all your future endeavors. Dear friends, so quickly fill up the feedback form for this session, and then we will move on to our next session by Virendra Kumar Thakur. So our next session would be by Virendra Kumar and Thakurji. He is assistant professor in computer and science engineering department, Govind Vallabh Pandit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Uttarakhand. And he is also an advocate and also RTI resource person. And he is very much active in our platform, regularly contributes his immense knowledge and insights on various legal aspects. And today, sir will be presenting on migrants issue, law for interstate migrant workers in India. We welcome you, sir, to the conference, and we invite you to unmute and start your video and start your presentation. The feedback form is on. Kindly do not close it. You can minimize it and continue with your presentations. Virendra Kumarji, you can unmute yourself and start your video.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll start my video. I'll adjust my camera. Okay, I hope I'm visible clearly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm also sharing my presentation. Well, today we shall see the law for interstate migrant workmen in India. There are there already is an act for this separately, interstate migrant workmen of 1979 for their say working conditions. But that is going to be repealed very soon. The 4 new labor codes have been passed in India in 2019 and 2020. Because of the COVID pandemic, this could not be enforced. These have been passed by the parliament. They have been notified in the Gazette. As far as the implementation of these new laws or the 4 labor codes that are going to replace 39 old labor acts are concerned. So the legal position or the constitutional position is that labor is subject in concurrent list. We have central power of central government as well as state government, and different states can amend it in their states. And we have central labor commissioner, CLC we call it, and deputy labor commissioners, DLC, which generally the presiding officer of the labor court. Labor courts have the original jurisdiction as far as labor laws are concerned, and there are about 51 different laws. Out of these, the effort is to make them comprehensive and bring them on parity with the new system and new practices. Earlier, when the our labor law started, maybe around 1923, Workmen's Compensation Act, Boilers Act, then Trade Union Act 1926, Industrial Disputes Act 1947, Factories Act 1948, and there are many different acts. After independence, also many acts have been passed. So the aim is to put all these comprehensively in 4 different codes, and these 39 different laws are going to be repealed very soon. The rules and regulations, because it is not only the act, but there is some rule making power available to states also, and therefore these are being made at present by different state governments. Some governments have already made them, and once that work is completed, these laws could be notified. Earlier, 1st April 2021 was notified, that was proposed, but that date could not be notified. Now again it is postponed, and maybe say from 1st January or maybe say from 1st April, these new labor laws or from any other suitable date, they may come as soon as the work of this preparing the rules is completed. So let us see the new provisions. I'm not going to cover the complete act. These are 4 different codes, out of which only the provisions related to interstate migrant workmen in India, these are the things that we shall see. So there are 4 different codes, out of which the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020 is one of them. So we shall focus only on this occupational safety, health and working conditions. There are some out of this code, only some provisions are related to migrant workmen. So according to theme of today's conference, we are focusing on the migrant worker, and we know we have seen them in construction work, and they are going from moving from one state to another, and these are called interstate migrant workmen. So first we shall see definition. It is a very long section. Out of that, I am focusing only on 2 clauses. That is definition of migrant worker and definition of interstate migrant worker. Then we shall see the provision for registration, section 3. Section 21 is about collection of statistics and portal for interstate migrant workers. So online portal is proposed in the new law of 2020. There is chapter 11. Out of that, we shall see only the first 2 parts. That is part 1 and part 2. These contain sections 45 to 65. And then section 119, that is common license for contractor, factories and to industrial premises, etc. And lastly, we shall see 2 provisions, that is section 133, ZW and ZZM, that is power of appropriate government to make rules. So rule making powers is very wide. Out of that, we shall see only 3 power and repeal and savings. So these are the only sections on which we shall concentrate today. It's a small presentation, 52 slides only. So we shall see just the provisions for the forthcoming provisions for interstate migrant workers. Now in this code, first we see the definition of contract labor. The contract labor means a worker who shall be deemed to be employed in or in connection with the work of an establishment when he is hired or in connection with such work by or through a contractor. We know that there are two types of employers. Contractor is generally the employer, and government agency or say department which hires that is called the principal employer. So these are the statuses that we accord to them in say labor disputes. With or without the knowledge of the principal employer and includes that means there could not be principal employer, there could be just a person employed in the contractor, and includes interstate migrant worker, but does not include a worker other than part-time employee who is regularly employed by the contractor for any activity of the establishment, and his employment is governed by mutually accepted standards of the conditions of employment, that is including engagement on a permanent basis. So here contract labor is those who are not permanent. So we are focusing on these because there are many people in unorganized sector also, and therefore there are various labor laws that take care of different types of workers in India. And I have already told there are about 51 different laws. So these are going to be clubbed, and therefore these 4 comprehensive codes will come into effect. And thus the periodical say increment in the pay, social security coverage, and other welfare benefits in accordance with the law for the time being enforced in such employment. So it includes the contract worker, or it does not include the permanent worker who get the benefit of say increment, social security, and other welfare benefits. So these are not included within definition of contract labor. So mainly here we are focusing on the say unorganized sector or unorganized labor. That constitutes a large workforce in India. Now there is interstate migrant worker. So this is another important definition. It's a person who is employed in an establishment and who has been recruited directly by the employer or indirectly through contractor in one state for employment in such establishment situated in another state. We have seen that these labor or people who are in say construction work particularly, or in many other things, many different say projects, they go from one state to another state. So here we are considering the issue of migrant workers, interstate migrants, or has come to on his own from one state and obtained employment in an establishment of another state, that is hereinafter referred called destination state, or has subsequently changed the establishment within the destination state under an agreement or either arrangement for some employment and for such employment and draws wages not exceeding the amount of rupees 18,000 per month. See, here we are focusing only on those who are getting low wages, what we call as a subsistence wages. Even the say payment of wages act and minimum wages act, these are also going to be replaced by the wages code of 2019 when these 4 say comprehensive codes come into effect. So here it is applicable to amount of rupees 18,000 per month, that is those who are getting less than 18,000 per month, or such higher amount as may be notified by the central government from time to time. That means the government has the power to increase that amount also. So it may revise periodically. Generally, these are done by the say on the recommendations of the say labor commissioner or deputy labor commissioner of the state. Now we see about the registration process. So registration of certain establishment, this is for all types of workers. It includes the interstate migrant workers also. So every employer of any establishment which comes into existence after the commencement of the code and to which this code shall apply shall within 60 days from the date of such applicability of the code make an application electronically to the registering officer appointed by the appropriate government. That means it could be either central government or the state government, hereinafter referred to as the registering officer, for the registration of such establishment, and provided that the registering officer may entertain any such application for registration after the expiry of such period, that is after 60 days, on payment of such late fees as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. So prescribed means prescribed by rules, so making power for given. Now every application under subsection 1 shall be submitted to the registering officer in such manner, in such form, containing such particulars, including the information relating to the employment of interstate migrant workers. At present, the problem is, although we have the law of 1979, but this registration as far as implementation is concerned. So this registration will be compulsory now. Interstate migrant workers, that is those who are migrating from one state to another state, and shall be accompanied by such fees as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. So the establishment shall have to register themselves with the registering officer. After the receipt of an application under subsection 1, the registering officer shall register the establishment and issue a certificate of registration electronically to the employer thereof in such form and within such time and subject to such conditions as may be prescribed by the central government. So now again, it will be issued now electronically, electronic certificate of registration. Provided that if the registering officer fails to register an establishment under the application as so made, or to entertain the application within the prescribed period, then such establishment shall be deemed to have been registered under this code immediately on the expiration of such period, and the electronic certificate of registration shall be auto-generated, and the responsibility of such failure shall be on the registering officer. So the registering officer has to say respond immediately after say he requests he receives the request, and if within the time he does not respond, then the certificate will be auto-generated by the system. This is to avoid say red tapeism and say corruption, so that they don't seek any money other than their salary, illegal gratification for issuing registration certificates. Any change in the ownership or management or in any particular say in subsection 2, which occurs after the registration of an establishment under this code, shall be intimated by the member electronically to the registering officer within 30 days of such change in such form as may be prescribed by the central government, and thereafter the registering officer shall make amendment in the certificate of registration electronically in such manner as may be prescribed by the central government. So this is the amendment of registration after the registration certificate is issued. The employer of an establishment shall within 30 days of the closing of the establishment inform the closing of such establishment, so that the certificate may be say cancelled, withdrawn, and certify payment of all dues to the workers employed in such an establishment, the registering officer in such manner as prescribed by the central government, and the registering officer shall, on receiving such information and certificate, remove such establishment from the register of establishment maintained by him, and cancel the registration certificate of the establishment within 60 days from the receipt of such information. This is as far as the winding or closure of the establishment is concerned. Provided that if the registering officer fails to cancel the registration certification of the establishment under this subsection within such 60 days, then the registration certificate of such establishment shall be deemed to have been cancelled under this code immediately on the expiration of such period of 60 days, and the cancellation of registration certificate shall be auto-generated, and the responsibility of such failure shall be on the registering officer. That means even if the registering officer doesn't work, it will be automatically cancelled. And responsibility, that means if there is some deficiency, he will have to communicate. There cannot be say illegal delay in issuing or cancellation of certificate or modification. Now, if an employer of an establishment has obtained the registration of his establishment by misrepresentation or suppression of any material fact, or has obtained the registration of his establishment so fraudulently or otherwise that the registration has become useless or ineffective to run the establishment, then in cases of clause A, such as misrepresentation or suppression of any material fact, shall be deemed to be in contravention of the provisions of this code for prosecution of the employer under section 94 without affecting the registration and running of the establishment. And in case of clause B, the registering officer may, after giving an opportunity to the employer of the establishment to be heard, revoke the registration by an order, and such process for revocation shall be completed by the registering officer within 60 days from coming into his notice the facts specified in clause B. So this is as far as the revocal of the registration is concerned. So registering officer has the power of revocation of certificate. Now, no employer of an establishment who has not registered the establishment under this section, or he has not preferred appeal under section 4 against the cancellation of the registration certificate of the establishment under subsection 5, or revocation of the registration of the establishment under subsection 6, or the appeal so preferred has been dismissed, shall employ any employee in the establishment. That means employee can be employed only if there is a valid registration. Otherwise, no employee can be say employed in any establishment. So this is the effect of compulsion of registration. And notwithstanding anything contained in this code, where any establishment to which this code applies has already been registered under any central labor law or any other law which may be notified by the central government and which applies to the establishment which is in existence at the time of the commencement of this code. So there are so many acts at present, more than 51. Some of them are, most of them are central, some of them are state acts also, and some acts have been amended by state government because it's a concurrent subject, shall be deemed to have been registered under the provisions of this code, subject to the condition that the registration holder provides the details of registration of the to the concerned registering officer within such time and in such form as required. So those who are already registered under the law, they will be say automatically say they will get electronic certificate. They will have to just inform about their previous registration. So whenever this act comes into effect, so they will be say deemed to have been registered under the new law. Now we see section 21. This is the collection of statistics and portal for interstate migrant workers. That means there shall be an online portal which shall maintain all the details of these interstate migrant workers. So for the purposes of this code, the central government and the state government shall collect, compile, and analyze occupational safety and health statistics in such form and manner as may be prescribed. Because there are certain occupational decisions earlier say we had for BD workers and many different types of work, agriculture workers, plantation workers, different types of ads were there. Many of these are going to be replaced by the new say this four comprehensive labor code. The central government and the state government shall maintain the database or record for interstate migrant workers electronically or otherwise in such portal and in such form and manner as may be prescribed by the central government. So provided that an interstate migrant worker may register himself as an interstate migrant worker on such portal on the basis of self-declaration and Aadhaar. That means there is process of self-declaration, and through self-declaration, anybody can register himself directly on that portal. So this facility will be available to the workers. Provided further that the workers who have migrated from one state to any other state and are self-employed in that other state may also register themselves on that portal. So interstate migrant worker can write about their migration on. And explanation: for the purposes of this subsection, the expression Aadhaar shall have the same meaning as assigned to it in clause A of section 2 of the Aadhaar, targeted delivery of financial and other salaries, benefits and services at 2016. That is 18 of 2016. So under this Aadhaar Act, there are said direct beneficiary, that is the amount goes directly to their accounts. There are no intermediaries. So to remove corruption, this type of say direct benefit scheme has been there. That means the account amount shall be directly deposited in their account. So that is possible because of this Aadhaar card, and this Aadhaar details will have to be uploaded by the worker directly on the portal, and there will be say statistics shall be collected through this mechanism besides the data they get from the say establishment. Now we come to the more substantive provisions, that is chapter 11. There are 21 sections. Part 1, part 2, this we shall see in detail. So these are special provisions for contract labor and interstate migrant worker, etc. Part 1 is related to contract labor. So applicability of this part shall apply to every establishment in which 50 or more contract labor are employed or were employed on any day of the preceding 12 months through contract, and every manpower supply contractor, what we call as service providers or thekedar contractors. So manpower supply contractor who has employed on any day of the preceding 12 months 50 or more contract labor. In factory that we have definition of where there are more than 20 workers in case where the electrical power is not used, and where there is electrical power used, more than 10 workers are employed. That we call as a factory. That is factory at 1948. So here we have applicability of this part. 50 or more than 50 workers are employed. Now this part shall not apply to the establishment in which work only of an intermittent or casual nature is performed. So it must be a continuously running establishment, provided that if a question arises as to whether work performed in an establishment is of an intermittent or casual nature, the appropriate government shall decide that question after consultation with the national board or a state advisory board, and its decision thereon shall be final. We shall not go into these provisions of these boards. We are just concerned here with these migrant workers. So for the purpose of this subsection, work performed in an establishment shall not be deemed to be of an intermittent nature if it was performed for more than 120 days in the preceding 12 months. If it is more than 1/3 of year, it is continuous. And if it is of seasonal character and is performed for more than 60 days in a year. So if it is seasonal, more than 60 days shall be considered as continuous work, and then this will become applicable. And there is appointment of designated as authority. So the appropriate government may by order appoint such persons being gazetted officers of the government as it thinks fit to be designated an authority as authority under subsection 1 of section 119. We shall see that section also for interstate migrant workers, and specify the limits of their jurisdiction and vest with such powers and duties, including dealing with issuance and revocation of licenses electronically as may be specified there. So we have already seen in section 3 about the registration provision. Now the licensing of contractors. So no contractor to whom this part applies shall supply or engage contract labor in any establishment or undertake or execute the work through contract labor except under and in accordance with the license issued by the authority referred to in subsection 1 of section 11. So there is compulsory licensing. We have skipped that section 11. In accordance with the provisions of that section, after satisfying that the contractor within fulfill such requisites, qualifications or criteria as may be prescribed by the central government, and such license shall, in addition to the requisite particulars and conditions specified in subsection 3, specify the number of such contract labor who can be supplied or engaged and the amount of security to be deposited by the contractor. So this licensing is made compulsory by this section 47 when it comes into effect. Where the contractor does not fulfill the requisite qualifications or criteria referred to in subsection 1, the authority referred to in subsection 1 of section 119 may issue him a work specific license electronically renewable within such period as may be prescribed by the central government to supply or engage the contract labor or execute the work through contract labor only for the concerned work order as may be specified in such license and subject to such conditions as may be specified in such license. If we compare this with the existing, say, Act of 1979, then we see that here we have electronic certificates electronically renewable. So that means these are the things that are going to be, say, electronic in future. Now, subject to the provisions of this part, a license under subsection 1 may contain such conditions, including in particular conditions as to hours of work, fixation of wages, and other essential amenities in respect to contract labor as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. There is Contract Labor Abolition Act also at present of 1970. Many of the acts are going to be replaced, that we shall see at the end of this presentation. The license referred to in subsection 1 or subsection 2 shall be obtained from if for such establishment the appropriate government is the central government, the authority referred to in subsection 1 of section 119 designated by the government, and the state government, the authority referred to in subsection 1 of section 119 designated by that government. So it could be either central or state government as appropriate government. And provided that where the contractor is desirous of obtaining license for supplying or engaging contract labor or undertaking or executing the contract work under subsection 1 or subsection 2 in more than one state, because since we are considering the problem of migrant workers, interstate migrant workers. So if a contractor is going to work in more than one state or for the whole of India, then he may obtain the license from the authority referred to in subsection 1 or section 1 of section 119 designated by the central government for such purpose, and the provisions of that section shall apply. And provided further that before issuing such license, the authority referred to in the first provision shall consult the concerned state or states authorities designated under subsection 1 of section 119 electronically before issuing license for the establishment for which the appropriate government is the state government. So first provision is for central, another is for state government. Now the procedure for issue or renewal of license. So subject to the provisions of section 119, every application for issuing a license under section 119 for the purposes of subsection 1 or subsection 2 of section 47 shall be made electronically in such form and manner and shall contain such particulars regarding the number of contract labor, nature of work for which contract labor is to be employed, and such other particulars including the information relating to the employment of interstate migrant workers as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. And subject to a provision of section 119, the authority referred to in subsection 1 thereof shall follow such procedure as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. If we compare this with the present provisions, then we again see that there is a provision here of electronically issue and renewal of license. Subject to the provisions of section 119, the license issued for the purpose of subsection 1 of section 47 shall be valid for a period of 5 years in respect to the number of contract labor specified therein, that is number of contract labor employed shall be specified in the license. And in case the contractor wants to increase the number of the contract labor, he shall apply to the prescribed in the prescribed manner for the amendment to the license. For such purpose, to the authority referred to in subsection 1 of section 119, and if the license is so amended, the number of contract labor shall be increased to such extent by depositing such security deposit as specified in the amended license for the balance period. So there will be some security deposit also that is to be deposited with the designated authority. Subject to the provisions of section 119, a license issued by the for the issuer for the purposes of subsection 1 of section 47 shall contain responsibility of the contractor as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. So this is the procedure for issue and renewal. Now, no fees or commission or any cost to workers. So the contractor shall not charge directly or indirectly in full or in part any fee or commission from the contract labor. So that is prohibited under section 49. 50. Information regarding work order to be given to the appropriate government. So when a contractor receives work order from an establishment, either to supply contract labor in the establishment or to execute the contract through contract labor to the establishment, he shall, within such time and in such manner as may be prescribed, intimate to the authority referred to in subsection 119, that is the designated authority. Where the contractor fails to give intimation under subsection 1, the designated authority may, after giving the holder of the license an opportunity of showing cause, suspend or cancel the license in such manner as is prescribed by the appropriate government. So information shall be given by contractor to the appropriate government. Then there is revocation, suspension, and amendment of license. So if the authority referred to in subsection 1 of section 119 is satisfied either on a reference made to him in this behalf or otherwise that a license granted for the purposes of this part has been obtained by misrepresentation or suppression of any material fact, or the holder of a license has failed to comply with the conditions subject to which the license has been granted, or has contravened any of the provisions of this part or the rules made thereunder, then without prejudice to any other penalty to which the contractor may be liable under this code, the authority referred to in subsection 1 of section 119 may alter after giving the contractor an opportunity of showing cause, revoke or suspend the license in accordance with the procedure as may be prescribed by the central government. That means this revocation or suspension of license shall be penalty in addition to other penalties that may be possible under the law. Subject to any rules that may be made in this behalf, the authority referred to subsection 1 of section 119 may amend a license granted for the purposes of this part. And then there is appeal. So any person aggrieved by an order made under section 47, 49, or 48 or 51 may, within 30 days from the date on which the order is communicated to him, prefer an appeal to an appellate authority prescribed by the appropriate government under subsection 6 of section 119. Provided that the appellate authority may entertain the appeal after the expiry of the said period of 30 days, if it is satisfied that the appellate was prevented by sufficient cause from filing the appeal in time. And on receipt of an appeal under subsection 1, the appellate authority shall, after giving the appellant an opportunity of being heard, dispose of the appeal within 30 days from the date on which the appeal is preferred. So this is the appellate provision. And the liability of principal employer for welfare facilities. We have seen earlier what is an employer and what is principal employer. So if the contractor employs a contract worker, the contractor is the employer and the government which gives the work to that contractor is the principal employer. So it's the duty of the principal employer to ensure compliance with the labor law, because the case may be filed against them also. They could also be made a respondent or a party when the case goes before the labor courts. So welfare facilities specified under section 23 and section 24 shall be provided by the principal employer of the establishment to the contract labor who are employed in such establishment. We already have certain provisions related to health for the protection against occupational hazard in our Factories Act 1948. Now that is sought to be replaced by the new provisions. Effect of employing contract labor from a non-licensed contractor. So where any principal employer of an establishment is employing contract labor through a contractor who is required to obtain a license under this part, but he has not obtained such license, then such employment shall be deemed to be in contravention of the provisions of this code, and there could be penalties. The responsibility for payment of wages. Actually, there is a separate code on wage 2019 that is going to replace the old acts of 1936 and 1948, that is Payment of Wages Act and Minimum Wages Act. So that will be replaced by the new wage code of 2019. So there are four bills that have been passed by the Parliament in 2019 and 2020. A contractor shall be responsible for payment of wages to each contract labor employed by him, and such wages shall be paid before the expiry of such period as may be prescribed by the appropriate government, that is by rules. And every contractor shall make the disbursement of wages referred to in subsection 1 through bank transfer or electronic mode. This is a new provision as compared to the earlier. Also, bank transfer was already there in the Payment of Wages Act of 1936 through an amendment, and inform the principal employer electronically the amount as paid by such mode. Provided that where it is not practicable to disburse payment in the mode specified in this section, then the payment shall be made in such manner as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. That is where it is made in cash or through draft, etc. Now, in case the contractor fails to make payment of wages referred to in subsection 1 within the prescribed period as makes short payment, then the principal employer shall be liable to make payment of the wages in full or the unpaid balance due, as the case may be, to the concerned contract labor employed by the contractor, and recover the amount so paid from the contractor either by deduction from any amount payable to the contractor under any contract or as a debt payable to the contractor. Now, this provision is made for protection of workers so that if the contractor fails, then the said due shall be paid by the government, and government will recover from the contractor. The appropriate government, in the event the contractor does not pay the wages to the contract labor employed by him, shall pass the orders of making payment of such wages from the amount deposited by such contractor as security deposit under the license issued by the licensing officer to the contractor in such manner as may be prescribed by such government. So government could either say deduct, or it could forfeit that security deposit when there is payment of wages done by the government instead of the contractor. Then experience certificate. So every concerned contractor shall issue on demand experience certificate in such form as may be prescribed by the appropriate government to the contract labor, giving details of the work performed by such contract labor. Now, this is a new provision. Even contract worker will have to be given experience certificate, and they could get as many experience certificates as the number of projects on which they work from time to time. And prohibition of employment of contract labor. Already we have separate act of 1970 for that contract labor abolition act. Now that is also sought to be replaced by the new act. So notwithstanding anything contained in this part, employment of contract labor in core activities of any establishment is prohibited, provided that the principal employer may engage contract labor through a contractor to any core activity if the normal functioning of the establishment is such that the activity is ordinarily done through contractor, or the activities are such that they do not require full-time workers for the major portion of the working hours in a day or for longer periods as the case may be. And any sudden increase of volume of work in the core activity which needs to be accomplished in a specified time. That means there should be satisfactory result. It should not be just to deny the benefits of permanent employment to the workers. So it should not be done that way. That year after year they work without any job security and without any benefit, and they could be fired every time. So that should not happen. That's why this provision is there. The appropriate government may, by notification, appoint a designated authority to advise that government on the question whether any activity of an establishment is a core activity or otherwise. If a question arises as to whether any activity of an establishment is a core activity or otherwise, the aggrieved parties may make an application in such form and manner as may be prescribed to the appropriate government for decision. So, for example, in it says engineering colleges teaching is a core activity. Now there are many people who are working on contract, and sometimes they are even paid low wages in private establishment. So here the limit is fixed. This applies only to where wages are less than 18,000 per month. The appropriate government may refer any such question suo motu, or refer the application to the designated authority, which on the basis of relevant material in its possession or after making such an inquiry as it deems fit, shall report to the appropriate government which within such period, and thereafter the appropriate government shall decide the question within such period as may be prescribed. So this is the prohibition of employment of contract labor. Then power to exempt these special cases. So the appropriate government may, in the case of an emergency, direct by notification that subject to such conditions and restrictions, if any, and for such period as may be specified in the notification, all or any of the provisions of this code or the rules made thereunder shall not apply to any establishment or class of establishment or any class of contractors. So there is power to exempt to the appropriate law. Now we come to part 2 of this chapter. That is interstate migrant workers. So applicability of part 2 is this part shall apply to every establishment in which 10 or more interstate migrant workers are employed or were employed on any day of the preceding 12 months. We have seen that earlier it was 50 days for part 1. Part 2 is applicable where there are 10 or more interstate migrant workers. So facilities to interstate migrant workers. It shall be duty of every contractor or the employer of an establishment employing such employing interstate migrant workers in connection with the work of that establishment to ensure suitable conditions of work to such worker, having regard to the fact that he is required to work in a state different from his own state, that is those who are going from one state to another state. In case of fatal accident or serious bodily injury to any such worker, to report to the specified authorities of both the states and also the next or kin of the worker. We already have some safety provisions in Factories Act. We also have Boilers Act 1923. We also have Workmen's Compensation Act of 1923. So now some of these are going to be replaced by the new provisions. There is also Employers Liability Act to extend all benefits to such worker which are available to a worker of that establishment, including benefits under the Employee State Insurance Act, that is ESI Act 1948. It matters several hospitals also. Now many of its operations have online and they are available electronically through the website. Or the Employees Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. See, there are two types of Provident Funds Act. One is for government employees, that is of 1925. Another is for 52. This is for labor employees provident fund. So GPF is for government employees. Provident fund is for employees, and those who don't have any type of benefit may say go to State Bank of India or maybe to say post office, that they can open public provident fund PPF account. PPF under PPF scheme of 1968, that is already there. Or any other law for the timing in force, and the facility of medical checkup as available to the worker under clause C of subsection 1 of section 6. Now, journey allowance. So, employer shall pay to every interstate migrant worker employed in his establishment in a year a lump sum amount of fare for to and fro journey to his native place from the place of his employment in the manner taking into account the minimum service for entitlement, periodicity, and class of travel, and such other matters has been prescribed by the appropriate government. See, earlier there was we have provision of LTC, leave travel concession to government employees. Now, similar type of provision is supposed to be there for interstate journey allowance. That is at least once in a year he is able to go to his home on a say employer's expense journey allowance. Benefits of public distribution system, etc. That is ration, etc. The food at cheaper rate, the food grains. The appropriate government shall make schemes to provide option to an interstate migrant worker for availing benefits of public distribution system. Now that is also going to be say at national level, that is the ration card of one state, maybe honored in other states also, and there will not be any need to get issue another ration card in another state. So this process is also going to be simplified through other laws, either in his native state or here the destination state where he is employed, and for probability of the benefits of the interstate migrant worker working for building or other construction work. Actually, most of the labor force works in this construction work on major projects for building or other construction work out of the building and other construction sales fund in the destination state where such interstate migrant worker is employed. So there is a say some say provident say sales is dependent upon that the output of the organization establishment. Toll-free helpline. This is a new provision. The appropriate government may provide facility of toll-free helpline to the interstate migrant workers in such manner as may be prescribed by that government. Study of interstate migrant workers. So the appropriate government may provide for study of interstate migrant workers in such manner as may be prescribed by that government. And then we have past liabilities. So no suit or other proceeding shall lie in any court or before any authority for the recovery of debt or any part thereof relating to an interstate migrant worker after the completion of his employment, where it remains unsettled, obligation to the contractor or the principal employer, and such debt or part thereof shall, on the completion of the period of employment of such worker, be deemed to have been extinguished. So past liabilities cannot be say recovered from the say interstate migrant workers. This is another protection that is given to them. Now we come to designated authority under section 119 of the new act. common license for contractor, factories, and industrial premises, etc. So, notwithstanding anything contained in this code, any person desirous of obtaining common license in respect to a factory, uh, industrial premises for BD and cigar work. Earlier, there was a separate act for BD and cigar work because they have more occupational hazard and even sometimes human work in this industry. For BD and cigar work and for engaging contract workers or any combination thereof or single license for any of one of them under this code shall make an application electronically or otherwise to such authority as may be designated by notification by the appropriate government. And the application under subsection 1 shall be in such form and filed in such manner and accompanied by such fee and contain such information as may be prescribed by the appropriate government and shall, insofar as it relates to the license for engaging contract labor, contain the number of interstate migrant workers employed. That number shall also be mentioned in the license. Now, on receipt of an application under subsection 1, the authority referred to in that subsection shall take such actions in such manner and make such inquiry as may be prescribed by the appropriate government. And where this authority, where the authority referred to in subsection 1 is specified, that is satisfied, that is the designated authority, that a common license may be issued in respect of a factory, industrial premises, or BD and cigar work, and for engaging contract workers, or any combination thereof, or single license for any of any one of them under this code. Such authority shall issue a license electronically within 45 days of the receipt of application. Failing which, the license shall be deemed to be issued and shall be auto-generated, and the responsibility of such failure shall be on such authority. That means it can't be delayed more than 45 days. Otherwise, it will be automatically generated. Provided that where the license is deemed to be issued, no further inquiry shall be made. That is, once it is deemed to be issued, so no further inquiry shall be made. Shall how that license got issued. Provided further that the form of license shall, as far as practicable, be similar throughout India, is to bring uniformity in different states. And provided also that where such authority rejects the application, he shall assign the reason for such rejection. So it should be a reason and speaking order so that it could be challenged and it will be appealable before the appellate authority. Notwithstanding anything contained in this code, any license in respect of a factory, industrial premises for BD and cigar work and for engaging contract labor has been obtained under any central labor law before the commencement of this code in respect of any establishment shall be deemed to have been obtained under the provisions of this code. That means older license shall be automatically transferred under the new code and shall be valid for the period for which it was issued and shall have to be obtained afresh after its expiration. So after expiration, they will have to apply under the new law. And any person aggrieved by an order passed under this section by the authority referred to in subsection 1 may file within 30 days from the date of the order and appeal in such form accompanied with such fee as may to such appellate authority as may be prescribed by the appropriate government, and the appeal shall be disposed of electronically within 30 days of the filing of the appeal. So many provisions are going to be say in electronic form once this act comes into effect. And lastly, we have this power of appropriate government to make. There are so many powers. Out of that, we shall see just 3 rule-making powers. So the appropriate government may, subject to the condition of previous publication and by notification, make rules for carrying out the purposes of this code. The central and state government both have the power to make rules. They prescribe something in more details, the things that are not there in the act, but they cannot be inconsistent with the object of the act. And in particular, and without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing power, such rules may provide for all or any of the following matters, namely, clause ZI. The form and manner of application and the particulars which such application shall contain regarding the number of contract labor, nature of work for which contract labor is to be employed, and other particulars, including the information related to the employment of interstate migrant workers under subsection 1 of section 48. The clause ZW, manner of providing for study on interstate migrant workers under section 64. We have already seen that section study. And ZZM, the form of application, manner of filing the application, and the fee to be accompanied therewith, including the information relating to the employment of interstate migrant workers under subsection 2 of section 109. And lastly, we come to the last section, 143, replant saving. So now we have seen that there are 39 acts that are going to be replaced by these 4 new codes which have been passed by the parliament. And whenever this comes into effect, the following laws shall be repealed. So these are in 2 pages. The following enactment shall stand repealed on and from the dates the notification referred to in subsection 1 of 2 of section 1 is issued, namely the Factories Act 1948. So Factories Act is going to be repealed. Plantations Labor Act We have tree plantation, rubber plantation, coffee, many other plantations where the plantation workers are working in agriculture industry. 1951. Then the mines at 1952. That is another major applicable to all types of mines. That we have many different special types of mines. So there are special acts also. Then working journalists, there were separate acts earlier. Now the journalists are also included within this act. So working journalists and other newspaper employees conditions of service and miscellaneous provisions at 1955. The working journalists fixation of rates of wages at 1958. The motor transport workers at 1961. That is the driver, cleaners, etc. So these are the motor transport workers. Then the bidi and cigar workers conditions of employment at 1956, 1966, and the contract labor regulation and abolition at 1970. So this act shall also be repeated. Then the sales promotion employees, salesmen, sales girl, all the sales promotion employees, conditions of service at 1976. Then interstate migrant workers, regulation of employment and conditions of service at 1979. This is the present act. It's a very big act. So since it is going to be repeated soon within few months, so we are not going to into details of this act, but that act will be repealed now once this new act comes into force. So it is called the Interstate Migrant Working Regulation of Employment and Conditions of Service. That is RECS Act. Then the cine workers and cinema theater workers regulation of employment at 1981. So it includes not only the actors and actresses, but there are many people like technicians, beauticians, many other people who are working sound recordists and some people who do technical work. So these are all cine workers and cinema theater workers. That is also going to be repealed and will be included within this act. The dock workers, that is people who do this work of loading, unloading on dockyards. So dock workers, safety, health and welfare act 1986. That is also going to be repealed. And then the building and other construction workers, regulation of employment and conditions of service act 1996. That will also be repealed. So these are the say 13 different rules, say acts that shall be repealed once this act comes into force. And every chief inspector, additional chief inspector, joint chief inspector, deputy chief inspector, inspector, and every other officer appointed for the purposes under any of the provisions of the enactments repealed by this code shall be deemed to have been appointed under this code for such purposes under this code. That means those who are the officers under this factory act, etc., automatically they will become the inspectors appointed under this code, and they will have to work under the new law. So this is the saving clause, after when the older laws will be repealed. And notwithstanding repeal under subsection 1, anything done or any action taken under the enactments so repealed, including any rule, regulation, bylaws, notification, nomination, appointment, order, or direction made thereunder, shall be deemed to have been done or taken under the corresponding provisions of this code, and shall remain in force to the extent they are not contrary to the provisions of this code till they are repealed by the central government. So as far as the subordinate legislation is concerned, so subordinate legislation shall not automatically cease. And that's why the government is going through this big exercise of getting the rules enacted by all the state governments, so that some many older rules shall also be repealed when these acts will get repealed. Otherwise, there could be contradictions and too much litigation. And without prejudice to the provisions of subsection 2, provisions of section 6 of the General Clauses Act 1997, as far as the interpretation of laws is concerned, shall apply to the repeal of such enactment. That means the court cases that are going on will go on under the old laws that were in force. So that ends this presentation. If there are any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Your participants, if you have any queries, you can feel free to share or raise your hand or use chat box.
So this is the present act. We have not seen that. This is the old act of 1979 that will be repealed. So it has some 36 sections and the schedule. So that will be replaced along with many other laws. Any questions?
think there are no queries. We will if there are no queries, then we shall move on to feedback for this session. Then
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me an opportunity for this, and thanks to Holistic Health Foundation of India and Sri Kajtavi, and for thanks to all the participants also for listening patiently. Thank you very much.
thank you, sir, for joining us and giving valuable insights on the topic. And we wish you all the success for all your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form for session. Any other speakers ready for presentation can leave their topic and details in chat box so that we can invite you. Dear friends, feedback form for session 3 has been raised. Quickly attend to the feedback form.
The goal of the American Horse Council is to ensure that the horse industry works together in Washington to keep opportunities open for the industry. Consensus and coordinated action by our members in dealing with federal legislation and regulations is the best way to accomplish this goal. With individual members and over 150 state, breed, and discipline affiliates, the American Horse Council truly represents every segment of the vast equine industry. Trail use on public lands, import-export issues, disease control, immigration, and taxes are just a few examples of the diverse issues the American Horse Council works on. We can't do this alone. The American Horse Council needs your support in order to continue to have our equine voice heard here in Washington, D.C. Membership with the American Horse Council allows you to stay connected to knowledge, resources, and opportunities exclusive to our members. Regardless of breed, discipline, or business, decisions made in Washington affect you, your sport, and your equine. We need your help to continue to have our voice heard. Support the American Horse Council today.
Around 30,000 years ago, deep within a cave in France, ancient humans drew a series of animals in charcoal. A group of elegant, fearsome cave lions. A herd of woolly rhinos with giant horns, some locked in battle. A long-eared owl engraved in clay, with its head swiveled 180 degrees, perched and watching. And perhaps most striking of all, a panel of majestic horses in profile, all painted by the same artist. These are the oldest known paintings of horses ever discovered, the first of many that show up again and again in cave art from Europe, from around 30,000 to 12,000 years ago. In fact, according to some estimates, horses are the most frequently represented animal in the art of this period. Back when those paintings were made in France, in the cave now known as Chauvet, horses would have been a source of food for people, as well as artistic inspiration. But over time, our relationship with horses would shift. They would become our companions and the literal workhorses behind the rise of many cultures and civilizations. But do these ancient artworks depict the same wild horses that we eventually domesticated? And do our modern horses descend from just one domesticated population? Or did it happen many times in many places? Answering these questions has been tricky, as we've needed to bring together evidence from art, archaeology, and ancient DNA. Because, as it turns out, the history of humans and horses has been a pretty wild ride. At its heart, the story of horse domestication has been so mysterious for so long because good evidence has been really hard to come by. For one thing, the wild horses depicted in ancient artwork, the potential ancestors of modern horses, no longer exist. Which might sound weird because there are plenty of horses that live in wild herds across the world today. But these are all descendants of domestic horses, the subspecies Equus ferus cabalus, that were released or escaped. We call these feral horses, as opposed to lineages of horses that were never domesticated, which we call wild horses. And at the genetic level, feral horses are still indistinguishable from domestic horses. The only potential wild horse that's still around is an endangered subspecies, Przewalski's horse, also known as the Taki or Mongolian wild horse. And I'm pronouncing it that way because that's how Sir David Attenborough pronounces it, and he gets the final word with me. Although also I have heard it called the pea horse, which, for what it's worth, Smithsonian calls it the pea horse. What was I talking about? Okay, so today there are only a few thousand of them spread across several populations in Europe and Asia. And we're still debating whether or not these horses were ever domesticated at any point in time by anyone. If not, then they're the only living horses that could truly be described as wild. They're the last living insight into what the ancient wild horse populations of Eurasia might have been like. And they bear a striking resemblance to the most ancient depictions of horses, with their short, stocky necks and rigid, bristly manes. You gotta hand it to those ancient artists, they just really nailed it. But Przewalski's horses don't bridge the gap between those ancient artworks and our modern horses, because the genetics are pretty clear. They're not the ancestors of modern domestic horses. They don't even have the same number of chromosomes. So where did modern horses come from? Well, for a while we thought that they might trace back to a 5,500-year-old settlement in Kazakhstan called Botai. And in one of our earlier episodes about horse evolution, we even said, I think actually I was the one who said this, that that place was the origin of modern domesticated horses. But the science has changed a lot since then. Starting in 1993, archaeologists began finding a huge number of horse remains around Botai. And in 2009, they reported the discovery of pottery that contained chemical residues from horse meat and milk fat. They even found horse teeth with wear patterns that suggested that the horses had been bridled and maybe even ridden. But then in 2018, the connection between Botai's horses and our modern horses was challenged by geneticists who took another look at the remains. They concluded that the horses from Botai had little to no genetic connection with modern horses. In fact, they were indistinguishable from Przewalski's horses. And then in 2021, researchers reevaluated the teeth and argued that those wear patterns could have happened naturally. They even found similar patterns on the teeth of ancient wild horses that had never come into contact with humans. They proposed that the people of Botai hadn't domesticated horses at all, but instead were just harvesting them from the wild for food. So we still don't know for sure when the first domestication of horses took place, or how many times it happened. After all, it might be that many different cultures domesticated horses independently and just didn't leave behind any evidence, either archaeological or genetic. But thanks to a huge study of ancient DNA, we finally have a good understanding of the domestication event that really matters to us, the one that gave rise to all of our modern horses. In a paper published in 2021, a team of over 160 researchers sequenced the genomes of 273 ancient horses from across Eurasia, covering the last 50,000 years. And they found that up until around 4,000 years ago, Eurasia had a diverse community of wild horses with a lot of genetically distinct lineages spread across the region. Then, pretty suddenly, one lineage of horses just exploded, spreading rapidly across the continent and replacing other horses as it went. This sudden shift marked the rise of the domestic lineage that all of our modern horses descend from. And the researchers were able to pinpoint the origin of this lineage to the region of what's now Russia, around the Volga and Don rivers. There, around 4,200 years ago, people began domesticating and breeding those horses in huge numbers. Okay, but so what made these particular horses, the direct ancestors of our modern ones, so successful? Well, it seems that they had some key genetic variants that breeders probably selected for. One of the variants changed the function of a gene called GSDMC, which seems to be involved with the spine, potentially giving these horses a stronger back, making them ideal for carrying the heavy weights of people, chariots, and goods. Another one affected a gene called ZFPM1, which is actually involved in the brain chemistry that affects mood regulation, possibly making the horses less anxious and skittish and more docile, so they were easier to handle and breed. By around 3,500 years ago, the modern domestic horse had spread far and wide across Eurasia and replaced the other populations of horses. And today, their descendants all over the world come in many different shapes and sizes, from small ponies to massive draft horses, who can all trace their homeland back to the grassy steppe of Russia over 4,000 years ago. Without these horses, human history would probably be unrecognizable to us. Nearly everywhere they went, they transformed the way we traveled, farmed, and waged war, almost overnight in evolutionary terms. And we still find horses just as fascinating and beautiful and mesmerizing as those ancient artists in France did 30,000 years ago. And we're not horsing around when we thank this month's eontologists. Chase Archambault, Colton, Michaela Freedy, Annie and Eric Higgins, John Davison Ing, Jake Hart, and Melanie Lamb Carnevale. By becoming an Eonite at patreon.com/eons, you can get fun perks like submitting a joke for us to read, like this one from Philip. What kind of candy do paleontologists like? Popping rocks. Yeah, okay. And as always, thank you for joining me in the Konstantin Haza studio. Subscribe at youtube.com.
Thank you everyone for joining us. I'll see you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Quickly fill up the final overall feedback form before you leave the platform. Certificates will be generated after stipulated time. Those who have not yet completed formalities are requested to complete at the earliest for receiving your certificate on the website. You can download your certificates from the website. The website link has been shared in the chat box along with the registration link in the registration form and also available in the website. So see you all. Take care. Good night.